point by the convenience store owner. I thought they were the ones who got held up, not the other way around. And yet there I was, standing in an empty Quick Mart with a gun pointed at my head. The man said he was on to me, that even though he didn't know exactly how, I had to be doing something fishy. That he just simply couldn't believe there was any way for a person to win the lottery 5 times in just 3 months, let alone from his single store. I tried to tell him that I wasn't doing anything illegal, or cheating, or breaking any rules, that I just had a simple system I was using, and that it happened to work really incredibly well. Heck, I even offered to share it with him, but the angry man just wouldn't listen. And I was afraid that I was about to die. And I shudder to think of what would have happened if a group of teenagers hadn't come into the store right then, forcing the raving mad business owner to quickly put away his .44 caliber. But as soon as they did, I ran for my life, making it to my car and burning rubber as I peeled out of the parking lot and towards the safety of my home. Until that night, I'd been on such a high. I mean, I'd won more than $324,000 in the last 4 months just by playing the lotto and using a deceptively simple system I'd created to predict winners. I'd settled all my debts, some of which had been haunting me for years. I'd taken my family to Disney World for 2 weeks, where we stayed in their royalty suite and really did live like kings. I'd been able to buy my 2 sons all of the clothing that they'd been wanting for years, new basketball shoes, top-of-the-line new bikes, everything. I'd even just closed on the house of my dreams, a 2-story brick home in a beautiful, quiet neighborhood in the best school district in the entire county. But having that gun pointed at my head sure snapped me back into reality in a hurry. I realized that if I was going to keep using this breakthrough system that I'd created, and keep building long-term wealth by putting more and more money in the bank with it, I need to start being a lot more careful. Because here's the truth. Once you know how to crack the lotto code, which is what I want to share with you in this short presentation, there are going to be a lot of people who aren't happy about it. As you hold winner after winner for months at a time, you'll have to start rotating the convenience stores where you buy your tickets, because the owners hate having to pay out cash from their registers. And even when you win the larger prizes, $4,000, $14,000, maybe $140,000 or so, these store owners and managers still won't be happy. They become afraid that the state will start investigating them and trying to figure out what makes their store so special. That's the thing though, it has nothing to do with their store and everything to do with how you're picking your numbers. That's the secret to how I've managed to win the lotto 5 times in the last 3 months and 14 times in the last 2 years. These winners weren't all major jackpots, by the way. Some of the tickets were just for $8,000 or $14,000. Not enough to make you rich, but certainly enough to make your life a whole heck of a lot better. And it's the same secret a small handful of other lucky people have used to do the same thing once I shared it with them. People like Edward M. Barber from Sunnyvale, California.
Kenneth, I'm just writing this quick note to thank you for your changing my life. This month I've already hit the lotto 3 times for $13,200, $120,182, and $38,492 respectively. Some months aren't quite as crazy as this, but regardless, I've been averaging around $22,000 per month, and it's all thanks to your system. And speaking of your system, I still can't believe how easy it is to use. Even a toddler could use it. I'm glad you're not going to share this info with too many people, because if you did, I think the lottery would go out of business.
And Anthony Hill from Los Angeles, California, who says,
I can't believe it. 5 wins of $5,000 per more over the last 3 months. If you told me a few months ago that I'd be winning like this, I would have said that you were crazy. You know, but your formula is so easy to use and it's so insanely accurate. Now I know that my family and me will be financially set for life.
And Richard Hufford from Garfield Heights, Ohio, who says,
when a friend of mine shared your website with me, I thought he was nuts. There's no system to beat the lottery. I said, you're crazy. But after watching him hit his third jackpot in 6 months for a total of over $1,242,000 in winnings, I thought maybe he's not so crazy after all. So I decided to give this a try, and my God, am I happy that I did. I just hit my first jackpot for $124,000, and it's only been 29 days. I can't wait to keep winning.
Now, as a professionally trained statistician, if you had asked me just 3 years ago if there was some secret to winning the lottery multiple times, or to actually knowing in advance what the winning numbers were going to be, I would have probably laughed in your face and called you a fool. I mean, I did know that on some level the games all had to be beatable, because they've been designed by humans, and therefore it was impossible for them to be flawless. But if winning the lottery not just once, but even multiple times was so easy, then we'd all be millionaires, right? Fat chance of that, I thought. And until just a few years ago, I'd never even bought a lottery ticket in my life. But all that changed last year. The Powerball jackpot had just hit more than a couple of hundred millions, and as the night of the drawing arrived, it seemed like all anyone was talking about on the news or at work was this. Now, my job had some stability, but it didn't pay much, and I was also carrying a lot of debt on my shoulders, something that constantly seemed to be weighing my family down and holding us back from getting ahead in life. And I always did feel like I was always just scraping by. I certainly never was in a position to buy or even drive a fancy sports car, or to live in a nice home where I felt like my family would be both comfortable and safe. A lot of months I wasn't even sure about where the money would come from to pay for my kids' school supplies, or to put 3 healthy meals on the table. My wife was with a lot of friends,